So in this video, we are going to talk about minimum wage legislation and how that could lead to unemployment in the labor market. Now, to understand this minimum wage legislation, I am going to take the help of the demand supply model. So now we have already covered the demand supply model in module 2. So it should be pretty easy for you to apply this model. So that's my two-dimensional diagram. So here of course I have quantity. So by quantity I mean the quantity of labor that is demanded, quantity of labor that is needed and hired. So basically the number of jobs. You could also look at this as number of jobs that are available, because if number of jobs are 20, that means so many workers are needed and so many workers are likely to be hired. And here you have the price of labor. Now you know that the price of labor is basically the wage rate. That is the price of labor, and that's going to be a dollar value or whatever, it's in terms of a currency. Now you have the demand curve for labor. I'm calling that DL, where L is for labor, and you have the supply curve of labor. Now that is SL, where L stands for labor. Now here this is the labor market, so it's a microeconomic diagram. You can understand that this is the commodity that we are dealing with, the labor market. Now there is a basic difference between labor market and any other market. There's a difference between labor market and the ice cream market, the labor market and the apples market. What is the difference? In the apples market, the buyers are all along this demand curve. Everyone who is buying or demanding, they are here, right? So people like you and me, we are demanders, and the apple or the ice cream sellers, they are along the supply curve, the producers or the suppliers. Now in the labor market, that picture gets a little reversed. In the labor market, who are the demanders? The demanders of labor are the people who are going to hire. So basically the employers or the business firms, they are on the demand side. So the firms are the demanders of labor because they are the people who need the labor. They are the people who are going to hire labor. And the suppliers of labor are the workers, the people like you or me who are actually going to offer the labor. We are the suppliers of labor, right? So that is kind of reversed. In any other market, people like you and me, we are demanders, and the business firms, they are the suppliers. So please take note of that and do not get confused here. Okay, so this is the equilibrium in the labor market. So this is my equilibrium quantity. So that means these are the number of jobs that are in the market given that there is no legislation, right? So in the free market, the demand and the supply of labor interacts, and these are the number of jobs needed and the number of people hired. How do I know that? Because you know at QE, the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. You know that from your module 2. So that means the number of workers needed or demanded was exactly equal to the number of workers that were available. So everyone available and willing to work has got a job. Now let us use some numbers. Let's say QE is equal to 100, okay? So 100 workers were available to work and there were 100 jobs available, so everyone got a job. And let's say the prevailing wage rate there was WE, which is the wage rate at that point. Now let's say the government of the country thinks that this wage rate is not high enough for people to maintain a decent standard of living. So the government thinks that this equilibrium wage rate is not doing good to the people, the working class. It's a low wage. So the government comes in and they come up with a minimum wage law or a minimum wage legislation where they mandate a wage rate in the labor market. That means the government says that everyone must hire the workers at a certain wage rate. Now you can understand that that minimum wage rate must be higher than WE, because the reason that the government first of all came up with this minimum wage law is because that government thought WE was low. So there is no point setting the minimum wage below WE. If at all, it has to be set above WE, right? Let's call that W1, where W1 is basically the mandated minimum wage, the compulsory minimum wage. that the government wants everyone to pay. Now please note that at W1 there is no equilibrium in the market. You do not see an intersection point. Now this is the quantity demanded. Okay, this is the quantity demanded for labor. Let's call that QD1, and you can see that number is less than 100. Let's say that is 50, and this is the quantity supplied, right? Let's call that QS1, and you can see that number is greater than 100. Let's say it is 150. Okay, so what has happened? You can see that the quantity demanded of labor, the number of jobs available in the market is now 50, whereas the quantity supplied, that means the number of workers that are willing to supply their labor, is now higher, 150. Isn't it? So what has happened? There is a greater supply and a lower demand. So obviously there is surplus that is created in the labor market. There are surplus workers in the labor market. There is a higher supply of workers than the number of jobs available. And you know, whenever that happens, obviously what would happen in a free market? You know from your module 2, in a free market, whenever you have a surplus, you know, the price would go down, there would be low downward pressure on the price, and it would go back to that equilibrium, and that disequilibrium would get dissolved in the market. Everything would go back to the equilibrium. But here that's not a possibility, right? Because this wage rate is a rule. Nobody can break that rule. So that downward pressure on the wage rate cannot exist. So what happens? There has to be some other way of kind of adjustment. The other way is obviously, you know, people are left unemployed. There are only so many jobs available. So only, and please note this carefully, only these people, these 50 workers are the workers who end up having jobs under the minimum wage. When the wage rate is W1, only these 50 workers have jobs. These are the employed people. Why? Because only so many jobs are demanded. So the people who actually get hired, those 50 workers, are the ones who are employed, isn't it? Because that's the demand right now. Okay. However, all these workers are there. These additional workers are all here. These, anything in addition to 50, these are people who stay unemployed. These people are willing to supply their labor, but they have not found a job. These are the surplus workers, and these surplus workers actually stay unemployed. So these are my unemployed workers. So anything 150 minus 50, that is 100 unemployed workers are there, right? So you can see that minimum wage, under minimum wage, there is unemployment that is generated in the economy. So the minimum wage law will lead to unemployment, and please note that is a positive statement. That is not something that is, you know, up in the air. It's not subjective. It's an objective thing. It really happens. That's what I'm showing you. So it's a positive statement. If you remember from your module 1, positive and normative, right? So this is a positive statement that minimum wage law causes unemployment. Now you can break that unemployment into two parts. This unemployment is of two kinds. I could break it into two parts, and those two parts would be, the two parts of unemployment would be, first of all, this part, okay, let me call that part A, and the other part, that is part B. I'm just giving separate names to it so that it is easy to explain. Now how would you interpret part A? Please note, part A are these workers. These are the workers who were originally employed when there was no minimum wage, and these workers have basically lost their jobs after the minimum wage. Please note, they were included in QE. These 50 workers, 100 minus 50, these workers had jobs before the minimum wage. At wage WE, they had jobs, but when the wage increased to W1, they just lost their jobs. So basically the segment A is showing you the workers who are fired after minimum wage. after minimum wage law. And this is something that has been seen widely in the fast food restaurant business in United States. Due to minimum wage law, whenever the minimum wages rises, there are people fired in the fast food industry because of this reason. Okay, the fired workers. And there is an additional number of people who are unemployed. B, the section B. Who are these people? These section B people are the ones who were not in the market earlier. These are people who were never in the market before the law. Please note, this is over and above QE. So these guys were not in the market at all, but they came into the market whenever the wage rate rose. Whenever the wage rate went up due to the minimum wage law, these new workers came into the market attracted by the higher wage. They thought, okay, now the wages are high, let me go and work. So these new people came into the market and they did not find jobs. Okay, so we can say that the B section are the new workers entering labor force after minimum wage law, who do not find jobs. So they did not end up finding jobs although they came into the labor force, because they did not know that the number of jobs itself will shrink after the minimum wage law. So these two together, the section A and B together, this actually gives you the total number of unemployment. And please note that this kind of unemployment is actually structural in nature, because this unemployment is happening because of this structural change, the wage structure change in the labor market. So this is a classic example of structural unemployment in any country. Now with this, I have come to the end of module 3, unit 2. So we have finished module 3 here. Now in the next video, I am going to go on and talk to you about macroeconomic policy. But before that, we will talk about a model which will help us to understand the macroeconomic policy, and that model is going to be basically the demand and supply model for the macroeconomy, that is aggregate demand and aggregate supply model. So in the next module, we will go on and talk about aggregate demand and aggregate supply model, and then we will talk about the macroeconomic policies.